Hello and welcome to another video. So today we are checking out a forest deck. This in particular I want to call Fairy Forest. That's probably what I'm going to name this video, so you guys can enjoy that. Honestly, this deck's very different to Roach in most cases. It runs some of the same cards like May and Airbound potentially. I've seen some Roach decks run May, not as many now, but Airbound. Awesome fairies, giving them extra stats, and Okami really coming in clutch a lot of the time and winning your games pretty easily, along with, of course, Lux, which is great because it can basically be free. Miracle of Love, again, another card that just has really good value, and Stoneclaw as well, which is actually really good. I'm actually surprised by how well Latika does as a Stoneclaw card for that, that sense, in the way that it works. It's so good. So we'll get right into it and we'll take a look. So I've decided it's a bit more fair to call this deck a Natura Forest deck, honestly. The fact that it uses the Natura as a core of the deck is pretty important, so I think that's what I'll name the video over Fairy Forest, although I suppose that's a pretty interchangeable term in some sense, because current Fairy Forest decks for rotation really are just like this, to me, so we'll just go with Natura Forest, since that'll be the easiest way to name it. But starting off with a really good Fairy Circle, we've got Blossom Spirit on turn 2 there if we want it, but Ghostly Trent is probably the better turn 2 play, since it gives us a chance to generate a tree, which potentially has some value to us, especially if we want to use Tree and Avatar together, which are really good, generating even more fairies. I tried a lot of Forest before I made this video with Roach Forest. Didn't have much luck, honestly. Lost about 8 games in a row with Roach Forest. Just didn't have any luck. Everyone knew what they were doing to counter it. Couldn't get lucky enough with my returns and Forest hands. And unfortunately, it was just one of those days for Roach Forest where I didn't do too well. But this deck, as soon as I started it up, it just felt so good. The way this deck works is pretty buttery smooth overall. I can get drawn out sometimes, and Okami can become one of those cards that you're hoping to life that you can keep playing, but sometimes they just work, and in this case, that's one of them, where it just works. Gets you decent value all the time. So we got 2 fairies, both at 2/2, which is good. Harvest Defender I actually also don't mind. It's a great Evo target if you're looking for something that you want to trade and survive. Plus, I can start really dealing some damage and setting up for Lux, because Lux as a 0-cost card does work well with both Okami before and after, depending on how you want to use him. So he's always a nice card. They had a really good set of Roaches here, which was a little disappointing. So I'm definitely at risk when it comes to Roach. I want to make sure I'm getting as much damage as I can. Of course, them having to leave one of these Roaches up wasn't a good thing. I'm actually interested in why they even went for that Roach play. I'm guessing just up their count because they already have enough returns that they're not worried about wasting one. But I'll take any opportunity I can get to deal damage, and that's exactly what I did. Trying to also set up for the Okami play next turn, where I can potentially destroy something. And again, they lost another Roach. Definitely not what you want to be doing as a Roach player. No matter if you've got still one good Roach, that's a lot of value to lose. So I can go for the Okami here, then go for the Lux. I was tempted to go the other way around, but I think Lux is just much better being played right now, since it protects my Okamis pretty nicely and gives a decent buff. Predatory Might, 3 Predatory Mights. That's an impressive amount of clearing power. Not really much of a worry though, as I go for another Okami, which is definitely respectable. So I'm not sure what kind of Roach they were playing, honestly, as I don't see too many Roach decks running these cards. Fortunately, Latika play was perfect. I was going to have a little bit of trouble otherwise getting around this, and I didn't really want to waste another turn. Luckily, Latika works well.
'll. 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 'll
So the next thing we're going up against is Havencraft. So we actually had two pretty meta decks to go up against for this video. Kind of making up for the last video where we ended up just doubling Sword, which was okay, but it was definitely nothing flashy. We've had a pretty lackluster few videos past, and that's really just due to how the meta is shaped up. Like, if you're not playing Roach or Haven, it's hard to get wins in, or anywhere near a consistent windfall, so I do have to be reasonably careful if I want to be able to get any kind of thing going. But I definitely know this game is going to be one that's drawn out a lot.
It tastes better than it looks.
As that's just the way it goes when you're playing against Havencraft. They're typically so drawn out and so long-winded, which can definitely run you into some trouble. Virtuous Aether doesn't really help our situation. May isn't bad though, and the Avatar at least gives us the Fairy play for next turn. And I don't even need to waste my Avatar, so I'll definitely take that advantage where I can get it. The opponent didn't really do a lot either, so that's really good for us. We can actually very easily go for our Forest play now. Get our Fairies going onto the board. Getting that value. And why not a quick Evo for some extra damage value. So Iridescent Sphinx finally gets its play. It's not really going to do a lot, honestly. We got Airbound Barrage, which means we can take that thing out pretty quickly. Our opponent isn't really doing anything too flashy. So I wanted to go for the Airbound now, but I do need to take the Tutankhamun down to 1, so training in a Fairy is definitely my best bet here. And then, yeah, Avatar. Avatar's good. We don't have to waste our Airbound Barrage, which will save us at least a return there. And again, I can go for some buffed Fairies, so why not? Getting those Fairy buffs where I can. I didn't actually have to play one for my hand then. I could have just ended the turn and got the same value. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that that was part of the Blossom effect. Until this point in the game, at least. And by that point, they're only Holy Marksmaning, so I guess we lost a good chance of some free value. So I do need to take this board for as much as I can. And to do that, I would really like to use my Maze. At this point, we've now played 4 cards, so May becomes active. So I can actually play 2 Maze out here and kill off both these followers, while also still having a pretty good board. And instead of going for Lux, I decided to go for a Fairy. I want to hold on to Lux for a minute, just in case. Hold on to him for a rainy day. Well, I'm kind of lucky I did. Having to see that come down was not something I wanted. So I do need to take both of these out now. Blossom Spirit's fairly good. I mean, it's not good enough to take both of these out, but it's still pretty good. And the May gave us that final clear, and again, I probably should just let a Fairy come out. Probably would have been better. Although the 2/2 body from that plus the extra value is okay. And now things get a lot more interesting. Going for an interesting draw, and we don't find anything yet. At least we can go for the wards. A very long game, this one. Let's put it that way. I hope you guys bought your popcorn. We're going for a very long video. This is where things finally start to get more interesting. So we're at a point now where we can't easily recover, and our opponent is starting to really swarm the board. We've put in as much value as we can into this and haven't really got much back out of it. The Miracle of Love is great, but not super useful.
We've been bound, so I'm bound to protect.
And now we are set up to top deck, so we're relying on this board to potentially win us a game. And Mew is not what I'm looking forward to.
The enemy I seek.
At least we do block out the Hollowed Feather. We managed to stop one of those coming down. They were definitely a risk to our health.
Here I go.
And the fact that they're going to want to wipe as much of my board as possible does at least buy us a little bit of time.
Here I go.
So coming into turn 11, Okami top deck was perfect. Could not have asked for a better top deck. That does let us take out the 4-3 really easily. And go 4 damage to face. So we can finally start actually getting some damage in. This is definitely the most drawn out game I'd played for probably a good week. Trading blows for every single turn definitely kept me on my toes. Meta and Great Trees, not really a worry. The amount of cards they're drawing, really good for us, not so good for them.
Here I go.
Little hide and squeak. They're going to go rid of the 4-2. But if they leave up the 4-5 Okami there, I'm not in too much trouble. And top decking Airbound, I was actually so happy. I could not have asked for a much better top deck there.
Onward. Hey, let's play.
It's not a great setup, but we basically just reset the board and got 8 damage this turn, which is awesome. Especially coming off the fact that they healed last turn. So we're looking at a very, very solid position.
Enemy I seek.
And this Hollowed Feather getting no value. Or very minuscule value at least. But they make up for it a little bit, so good on them. We did manage to get Latika, which was perfect. I needed a good way to get past this 4-6, and Latika was definitely that option.
Go wild or go home.
It's definitely going to help us out.
This sucks, but somebody's got to do
Pretty
it.
good.
Send and packing, I needed to guarantee as much as I could. I took the chance of that setup. Since Send and Packing Tuck's the strongest follower, I made sure that I could get that there. And then I sent as much damage to the face as I could, since we need that damage to win this game. And now they finally have another chance. They can get rid of Latika.
Here I go.
We're only 4 damage off lethal, because they probably aren't getting rid of the 4-5. Fortunately though, that Priestess of Exile, perfect for them. And the Mew setup really didn't help us, so that was a little sad.
I'm not mousing around.
At least they have only got 4 cards left, which means we don't need much of a drag out left, and we did manage to top deck an Okami. God of the top decks right now. So that gives us a chance to remove both their followers and deal another 4 damage, along with giving us the Tree and Fairy back,
Pretty good.
which I can never really go wrong with.
Onward.
And just in case we draw something useful, I do decide to hold on to Great Tree and Fairy play, since there is still at least 1 card in our deck that could help us out. And that would be the Beauty and the Beast that we still have in there. Double Destiny Wing Knight. When I saw those come down, I knew I was in trouble. I really needed this draw, and Miracle of Love, ideal play. Play my 2 cheap cards out. Miracle of Love gives me a 5/4 Storm card for a really, really satisfying lethal. To a very long game. So I'm most definitely going to be playing more of this Forest deck. It was just really fun and really good to play. It didn't really hurt me too much at all to give a good go of. Also, it is running 8 legendaries, so right around that average mark, which is great. It's a little more expensive than, say, Roach, because Roach doesn't run too many at all. But this is really fun, and I definitely recommend giving it a go if you got the chance. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Find the deck list in the description below. Till next time, guys. See ya.